Imagine stepping onto the pitch, right? It's the opening night of a home World Cup.
Oh, the pressure has to be absolutely immense.
Exactly. You've got the weight of nearly 15,000 screaming fans just pressing down on your shoulders.
Yeah, you can practically feel it.
The tension is, thick enough to cut with a cricket bat. You've practiced for months. You are finally ready to bowl the very first ball of the tournament.
And then there's a delay.
Right. The game is immediately delayed by, of all things, a leftover glinting prop from the musical Wicked.
I mean, a literal stage prop interrupting the biggest unscripted sports narrative of the year.
It's crazy.
You really cannot write a more jarring juxtaposition.
Seriously, you can't. So welcome to this deep dive. If you're listening to us right now, we've actually designed this session specifically for you, the learner.
Yeah, think of it as your personal shortcut.
Exactly, a shortcut to unpacking one of the most commanding yet fundamentally bizarre performances in recent memory. Our mission today is parsing the source material detailing England's massive 87-run opening victory over Sri Lanka in the Women's T20 World Cup.
And just setting the baseline here, England puts up a staggering 219 for 1.
Right.
And they hold Sri Lanka to just 132.
Which is huge.
It is. But that 87-run margin, it kind of hides a much more complex story. We aren't just looking at the scoreboard today.
No, definitely not.
We're looking at the cognitive load, the biomechanical miracles, and, the tactical gambles that built that scoreboard.
Exactly. So let's paint the picture. It's Edgbaston, 14,865 expectant spectators. The absolute gravity of a home World Cup opening match.
Yeah. The stage is set.
Okay, let's unpack this, because getting to that final score of absolute dominance, it started with a level of frantic chaos from the opposition that we really rarely see at this elite level of play.
Oh, for sure. The chaos really starts right at the coin toss.
Right, the toss.
Yeah. Sri Lanka wins, and their captain, Chamari Athapathu, chooses to bowl first.
Which, I mean...
Yeah, and her stated reasoning in the sources is just striking. She actually says, we don't know these conditions, and yesterday it rained.
Wait, really? I read that quote and it immediately set off alarm bells for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in a high-octane T20 match, setting a dominant total usually dictates the entire pace of the game, right?
Yes, 9 times out of 10.
So choosing to bowl because the grass was damp 24 hours ago, it feels like deciding to wear a heavy raincoat to a summer picnic just because you saw a cloud on Tuesday.
That is a perfect analogy.
Like, did Sri Lanka basically psych themselves out before the first ball was even bowled?
I mean, it's a classic example of a cognitive bias called anchoring.
Anchoring, right.
Yeah, they anchored their entire World Cup strategy to irrelevant historical data. Yesterday's weather.
Instead of the actual pitch?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rather than reading the pitch right in front of them. And when you operate from a defensive mindset, like playing not to lose rather than playing to win, you immediately surrender the initiative.
And surrendering the initiative only amplifies the nerves. Which brings us right back to that ridiculous Wicked prop delay.
Oh, man, the prop.
Yeah, the sources mention this long delay because of a glinting object behind the bowler's arm, right? Left over from the opening ceremony.
Right.
Now, I know line of sight is critical in cricket. You can't have a distraction behind the bowler. But I honestly don't buy that a tiny leftover prop derails an entire professional team.
Whoa.
Was it really the prop, or was that just the breaking point for a squad already drowning in their own anxiety?
Look, the prop itself is physically meaningless, yes. But psychologically,
Yeah.
it's a massive interruption to their routine.
Right.
Elite athletes rely on highly structured rhythm to manage their adrenaline spikes.
It's like a pregame ritual.
Exactly. So when you force a nervous fielding team to just stand around their marks, doing nothing, just marinating in the noise of 15,000 opposing fans, their cognitive load spikes.
Oh, I can imagine.
They start overthinking. And you can actually see that cognitive overload manifest in Athapathu's tactics immediately afterward.
You're talking about the panic in the power play.
Yes.
Because she uses 4 entirely different bowlers in successive overs.
Precisely. In T20 cricket, the 6-over power play, when fielding restrictions allow only 2 fielders outside the inner circle, that is your prime window to build pressure.
Right, you want to lock them down.
Yeah, but by constantly rotating bowlers, You prevent your own attack from finding their length and establishing any sort of rhythm.
It's basically a data disaster.
It really is.
You're essentially giving the English batters a free, low-risk preview of your entire bowling arsenal. You throw everything at the wall in a panic, and the batters just calmly sit back and evaluate exactly what's coming.
And that complete lack of sustained pressure from Sri Lanka, it created the perfect tactical vacuum.
A vacuum that England was more than happy to fill.
Oh, absolutely.
Because stepping into that chaos was an absolute wall of stability. Namely, England's opening pair, Danny Wyatt-Hodge and Amy Jones.
Their reunion at the top of the order is such a fascinating psychological case study.
Yeah, it really is.
Because they hadn't opened together in a full international match since the 2020 tournament in Australia.
And we really have to mention the context of that 2020 tournament because it was grim.
Very grim.
Their partnership back then featured both of them scoring ducks against Thailand.
Yeah. 0 runs.
0. I'm trying to think of a mechanical equivalent. It's like 2 gears in an engine simultaneously stripping their teeth the exact second you turn the ignition.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yet here, years later, they step out and put on a flawless 135-run stand from just 82 balls.
Incredible.
How do you go from a dual catastrophic failure like that to this level of absolute synchronization, like the ultimate rom-com redemption arc?
Well, it really comes down to individual evolution in the intervening years. The sources note Sophia Dunkley was dropped due to a lackluster run of form, which forced this reunion.
Right.
But Amy Jones isn't the same vulnerable player she was in 2020.
She's definitely not.
She has been thriving recently in the one-day international format. Last summer, she hit back-to-back hundreds against the West Indies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she essentially brought a long-form, patient stability to a volatile short-form game.
And you see that stability translated into pure power, right? She hits 53 off just 34 balls.
Yeah, she was brilliant.
Though, I mean, it's worth noting she did get a massive assist from Sri Lanka's crumbling fielding. Sugandhika Kumari dropped her on 48.
Yes, she did.
And it wasn't just a tough diving chance either. Kumari mishandled a return opportunity on the 3rd attempt.
And that sequence perfectly illustrates what we just discussed about cognitive overload.
How so?
Well, catching a fast-moving cricket ball requires complex, instantaneous physics calculations, right?
Yeah.
Your brain has to compute trajectory, velocity, and spin in milliseconds.
Right. It's incredibly difficult.
But when a player is panicked, their eyes stop tracking the ball smoothly. They snatch at the ball instead of creating soft hands to absorb the impact.
That makes so much sense. Eventually, though, Jones does fall to a low catch at cover by Captain Athapathu off Malky Madara.
Right.
A great moment for Madara, by the way, her maiden World Cup wicket.
Absolutely. Huge for her.
But honestly, reading through the play-by-play felt like putting a tiny Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Because taking Jones out just isolated the player who was systematically dismantling them at the other end.
Oh, Danny Wyatt-Hodge.
Yes!
An anchor who stayed in for the long haul and delivered what can only be described as a complete masterclass.
Let's look at the numbers first because they're insane. She finishes with a spectacular, unbeaten 105 from 62 balls.
Yeah.
And she is 35 years old. This is her 7th T20 World Cup, making her the longest-serving campaigner in the squad.
So much experience.
Exactly, but here's where it gets really interesting. This is her first century since returning from maternity leave just a few weeks ago.
I know. That timeline is just staggering from a physiological standpoint.
Right.
To go through the profound biomechanical and hormonal changes of pregnancy, rebuild your entire core stability, and return to the absolute pinnacle of international sport.
It's unthinkable for most people.
Yeah, to hit your 3rd career T20I century, it requires a brutal, highly specialized physical rehabilitation program and just immense mental fortitude.
And she looked so incredibly comfortable in her own mechanics out there. The sources describe her as radiating experience.
She really did.
She hits a 33-ball 50 featuring 8 fours, and she caps that 50 off with this gorgeous up-and-over extra cover shot.
Oh, what a shot.
And that's when we see it. She breaks out this Barbados-style rock-a-baby celebration for her new baby, Daisy.
It's just a wonderful human moment sandwiched inside a completely ruthless sporting display.
Yeah, it was.
It connects the elite athlete back to the person. And like you said,
Yeah.
she was utterly ruthless. I mean, she also hit the first 6 of the entire tournament.
Yes. A massive slap over long on right off Athapathic. And that slap over long on is a statement of absolute dominance. To hit a ball that cleanly over the boundary means she was reading the bowler's hand incredibly early.
Of course, she had to be.
She was stepping perfectly into the line of the ball and transferring her weight flawlessly. She gave Sri Lanka no time to gather their thoughts, just keeping England scoring at a relentless pace of 10 runs per over.
But the true test of her innings wasn't just the boundaries, it was the final over.
Oh man, the final over.
Getting to a century in T20 cricket is mathematically agonizing because you only have 120 balls total as a team.
Right.
If you don't have the strike, your milestone just evaporates.
Right. So let's break down the psychology of that final over. Madara is bowling. Wyatt-Hodge is stranded on 96.
The tension is huge.
First ball of the over, she executes a poor swipe across a slower delivery and immediately loses the strike.
And what's fascinating here is the potential for internal panic.
Oh, I'd be losing my mind.
Because her partner at the other end is Nat Cyver-Brunt, who is actively hunting boundaries. If Cyver-Brunt hits a 4 and keeps the strike, Wyatt-Hodge's century is completely gone.
I would be absolutely hyperventilating at the non-striker's end. You can imagine the urge to over-communicate or, I don't know, try to force a risky single just to get back on strike.
Yeah, most players would crack under that specific pressure.
Absolutely.
But Cyver-Brunt is denied a boundary by some deft fielding, which leaves Wyatt-Hodge back on strike with exactly 2 balls remaining in the innings to find her 4 runs.
The entire stadium knows what's on the line.
Yes.
The pressure is astronomical. And her response, she executes a deliberate shuffle to the offside and sweeps the ball strongly into backward square. She fundamentally alters the geometry of the field.
That's so smart.
And then, on the final ball, she launches it up and over long off. The Eddie Baston crowd absolutely explodes, and she brings out that Bebeto Rocka Baby celebration one last time.
It really is a completely cinematic finish.
It's movie stuff.
It was the perfect capstone to an immaculate innings, proving she is unquestionably at the pinnacle of England's hierarchy.
Cinematic, yes. But let's look at the partner who was at the other end during that final over. Because Wyatt-Hodge didn't build a massive total of 219 alone.
Right. Cricket is a team sport.
Exactly. Which brings us to my absolute favorite part of these sources, the walking wounded.
Oh, this is fascinating.
England's role players were executing at an elite level while battling severe physical limitations.
Yeah, because the depth of the squad is tested not just by form, but by how it manages compromised fitness.
Exactly. So let's analyze Nat Cyver-Brunt. She delivers a ruthless, unbeaten 46 from just 22 balls.
A huge contribution.
Massive. But the catch here is that she's playing strictly as a hitter because of a persistent calf strain that's been worrying the team all summer.
And operating as an elite hitter with a strained calf completely compromises your kinetic chain.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in cricket, power generation is a ground-up process. You plant your back foot, push off, rotate your hips, and transfer that kinetic energy through your torso into your hands.
Right.
If the calf, the very foundation of that push-off, is damaged, you lose your primary power source.
Wow. So how on earth is she hitting a dinky little ramp shot right over the keeper, Mithali Ayokya, and then hammering the very next ball straight down the ground?
By compensating with hyper-elite hand-eye coordination
Yeah.
and utilizing the bowler's own pace against them.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, the ramp shot is biomechanically genius for an injured player. You aren't generating force, you're simply placing the bat at a precise angle to deflect a 70-mile-per-hour ball up and over the keeper's head.
So no leg power needed.
Exactly. It requires almost zero lower body drive.
It's all calculation and timing, and then she follows it up with this contemptuously powerful drive past the covers to bring up England's 200 in the penultimate over.
Yeah, she was just brilliant.
She's literally rewriting her own mechanics on the fly. But speaking of rewriting mechanics, we have to pivot over to the bowling side and look at Freya Kemp.
Oh, her story is intense.
Her medical history sounds like a fast bowler's worst nightmare. She's making a highly meticulous, gradual return to bowling following a history of back stress fractures.
It is a nightmare. Fast bowling requires immense biomechanical torque.
Right.
You sprint, abruptly stop your momentum at the crease, and violently hyperextend your lower spine to launch a heavy letter sphere.
Ouch.
Yeah. If the vertebrae, the core pillar of that movement, have a history of microcracks, the psychological terror of re-injury is massive.
I've always thought of fast bowling as operating a human trebuchet.
That's a good way to put it.
If the wooden base of your trebuchet has cracks in it, you are going to hesitate before you launch, which makes me wonder about her mental resilience. You spend months rehabbing, trying to trust your spine again. You step onto the pitch for your very first ball back on the world stage, And Harshita Samarawikrama absolutely cuffs you for a massive 6 over deep mid-wicket.
It's brutal.
Honestly, does a bowler's confidence just evaporate in that single second?
I mean, it is the ultimate stress test for a rehabilitated athlete. But the source material notes something crucial here.
What's that?
While the 6 was visually dramatic, it was a deceptive indicator of Kemp's actual rhythm. She didn't let the visual of the ball flying into the stands alter her rehabilitated mechanics.
She stayed calm.
Yes, she trusted her muscle memory.
And the retribution is instantaneous. Before that very same over finishes, she bowls a brilliant off-cutter to take a wicket.
Yeah, beautiful bowling.
Now, for those of you picturing this at home, an off-cutter is basically a fast bowler rolling their fingers violently over the seam of the ball at the exact moment of release, right?
Exactly. The ball looks like it's coming at express pace out of the hand, but that finger roll drastically reduces the speed and makes the ball grip and cut sharply off the pitch.
Tricking the batter.
Right, the batter swings early, entirely deceived by the flight and the sudden change in velocity.
It's pure deception, and it completely unschools the lower order. Kemp finishes with devastating figures of 4 for 21.
Just phenomenal.
At one point, she takes 3 wickets in just 4 balls. She went from being hit into the stands to looking completely unplayable.
It was an incredible display of resilience. But we can't look at Kemp's bowling figures in a vacuum.
Sure.
A bowler is only as good as the tactical structure supporting them, and England's field strategy was a masterstroke in deliberate preparation.
I really want to highlight the stark contrast here. Remember Sri Lanka panicking and frantically using 4 bowlers in the power play?
Yeah.
England takes a totally different, highly analytical approach. They use all 6 of their bowlers within the first 9 overs.
It's the difference between reactive chaos and proactive data gathering. By rotating 6 bowlers that early, England essentially crowdsourced a complete data map of the pitch conditions in real time.
Oh, that's smart.
They gave every single bowler a sighter to acclimatize to the lights and the surface friction early on, when the massive scoreboard pressure was entirely weighing on Sri Lanka.
So Sri Lanka never got the chance to target a single bowler and find a rhythm. It's tactical suffocation.
Precisely.
And the wickets just start falling across the board. Lauren Bell grabs England's first wicket of the tournament with a perfectly precise pound brew leg before wicket against Vishmi Gunaratne.
Right.
She traps her leg right in front of the stumps so perfectly that Gunaratne's review of the umpire's decision was a completely wasted effort.
We also saw the ecosystem of the team functioning perfectly in the field. Like Lindsay Smith takes her maiden wicket when Freya Kemp catches Amisha Delani.
And I absolutely love the reciprocity of that moment,
Yeah.
because later in the match, Smith is positioned at deep square leg and catches a ball to ignite Kemp's late wicket-taking spree.
It's exactly how a fielding unit is supposed to feed off each other.
It really is. And then Sophie Ecclestone, the veteran spinner, just calmly cleans up the final over with 2 wickets to seal the deal.
But if we are talking about the fielding highlights, the conversation inevitably circles back to our Centurion.
Danny Wyatt-Hodge. Because an unbeaten 105 apparently wasn't enough for one evening.
No, she wanted more.
Sri Lanka's captain, Athapathu, is widely considered their queen pin. If you remove her, you remove the engine of their team.
Absolutely.
And Wyatt-Hodge takes her out with this sprawling, spinning catch at deep square leg.
Tracking a cricket ball dropping rapidly from the night sky while running at full tilt requires immense spatial awareness and angular momentum control.
It looked impossible.
The source material actually likened the athleticism of that catch to Ben Stokes's legendary physics-defying catch at the Oval in the 2019 Men's World Cup.
Oh, wait.
It was that spectacular.
That is exceptionally high praise. Though, to be fair to the rest of us mortals, the sources do note she humanized herself just a bit by dropping 2 non-sitters later in the innings.
Yeah, she's human after all.
But honestly, when you've scored a century, hit the tournament's first 6, and taken the catch of the night, I think you're allowed to prove you're not an actual cyborg.
I agree. You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this match serves as a definitive, terrifying statement to the rest of the tournament.
It really does.
England absorbed the intense environmental pressure, navigated a chaotic delay, and used sheer tactical aggression and veteran poise to completely dismantle their opponent.
Yeah.
They crowdsourced their bowling data, neutralized Sri Lanka's key players, and proved the immense depth of their squad.
It is a masterclass in adapting an unwritten script on the fly. So what does this all mean for you, the learner, as you watch the rest of this World Cup unfold?
Good question.
We've spent a lot of time today celebrating the sheer dominance of this 87-run victory. But beneath the surface of that massive scoreboard, I want you to consider the physical realities we just unpacked.
The reality of the walking wounded.
Right. Nat Cyberbrunt, arguably their most explosive middle-order hitter, cannot plant her foot without risking a torn calf.
Yeah.
Freya Kemp, who just proved she is a devastating closing bowler, is relying on a rehabilitated spine that fundamentally limits her workload. Dominance is thrilling, but it is also balancing on a razor's edge.
It really is. And this raises an important question. How sustainable is a grueling multi-week World Cup campaign when your key strategic difference makers are operating on such a knife edge of physical vulnerability?
That is the fragile reality of elite sports.
Hmm.
The mastery we saw today is undeniable, but the vulnerability is always right there under the surface, literally one awkward landing away from changing the entire narrative.
Absolutely.
It's definitely something to keep in the back of your mind as the tournament grinds on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes on the pitch, and we'll catch you next time.